I have been unmuted. Let's go. Welcome back to some more FaceIt League action. Dex, it has been a very fun journey so far. We're starting to get towards the end of it, though, and these games are starting to become super important for Alternate. This is, at this point, more of a conversation of them fighting for seeding, but for Shikigami, this is them fighting essentially to even have a chance to still make that top 8.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about here, Alternate being one of the top teams here in the NA Masters tier right now, sitting in that 2 to 3 spots right now, shared with the Dreamland, 8-2 so far on the season. Shikigami, though, you talked about kind of struggling to start off the season, won their last 2, putting them at a 5-5 record, 500 here. So they're trying to keep the ball rolling. Alternate won their last game as well, but they're trying to get the ball rolling as well here after they dropped the game very recently here as well. But we do know what our first map of the night will be, Hunter. It's going to be Oasis, and we already know Kiri is our first ban.
Yeah, not a surprising first ban in the slightest. Everyone seems to kind of go down the path of something like the either the Kiri or the Juno, the Orisa. That kind of seems to be the main targets we've kind of seen right here. Kiriko, I think, is 100% a well-off one to start out with here. I don't think it's a ban you're really going to regret either. I think there are higher impact characters that are probably more of a worry, but we'll figure out what that second ban here in a moment is as soon as teams have their rosters finalized, because these teams do have 7 players each, so you got to take those bans into consideration, because thankfully you can make swaps after the ban. So say your Winston One Trick gets banned out, you can make the swap and then go ahead and try to play something else instead.
Wow, surprisingly, our second ban not going to be a tank. Normally you see that here when we head to Oasis. Instead, it's going to be the Freya, which, I mean, Hunter, we talked about it Tuesday when me and you covered South America. The Freya pick is sort of becoming one that you can make do without, but you can also, it works as well still at times. I mean, Cassidy Soj starting to pop up a little bit more with a little bit more consistent damage and ultimate value. But Freya, I mean, still a large amount of burst damage. And even in the South American games and the NA game that I covered, you would see Freya played a decent amount, and you would always see whoever was playing that Freya always end up having the most damage on the team, even if they weren't finding the most elims.
Yeah, no, 100% in that situation. So I am excited to see how this goes down, at least how we're going to be able to start this around. But getting into a game like this for Alternate, this is not a scenario where you want to look over a team like Shikigami. That's kind of the one fear that we kind of have, because we literally just saw an example of this last night in South America, where Luminous Mortis, a team that is in the middle of the pack that was fighting for an opportunity to get into the top 4, fell to Garfo, a team that isn't even in the running anymore. It's just a scenario where you can't afford to look over teams, because if you drop in the seeding and have to fight somebody tougher a lot sooner, I mean, the results can be a lot more different than what you can expect, and obviously makes for a much tougher journey.
Yeah, but I don't think we can count Garfo just out yet in that South American region. You never know. They could run the table in the final week next week, win their final 2 games, and might have a little bit of noise to make there. But let's focus back in on this one here. Like we talked about coming in this one, Alternate currently sitting in that 2 to 3rd spot at the moment. The only team above them is Young and Beautiful, and that is only because they've actually played their 12th game. They've actually played 12 games. This is going to be Alternate's 11th game here, but a win tonight will put them at 9-2, which should actually put them over Young and Beautiful, who was formerly Regen. They got changed orgs very late here in the season, but that Young and Beautiful team has been performing excellently. Dreamland, another team that me and you have cast a couple times here on your channel, sitting in the top 3 as well. But like you said, you don't want to start falling apart here very late, because you look at it here, and I don't know if you have it up on screen. 8th place right now is only 5 losses. 1-2 losses here in your final 5 games does start to make stuff a little bit interesting for you, where you will probably start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Right now, Alternate sitting comfortably. Shikigami, though, like I said, won their last 2 games, trying to keep the momentum rolling here, because they start off sluggish and slow. And we talked about it a little bit, how they weren't necessarily performing as what everyone kind of thought they would, but now they're starting to get going here again. They have a tough matchup tonight against Alternate, and it's going to be a real good showing to see how good this team's been able to bounce back.
Yeah, and that's what this really is. The situation is a bounce back right here against one of those more middle of the pack style teams. Team like Shikigami, who once again really needs a win like this. I mean, the rest of their schedule is not exactly what I would call easy. So you're gonna have to pull out a big win or two against teams like this here. And hell, if you end up making it through, you inevitably are going to have to face a team like this to get an opportunity to potentially go and qualify for OWCS. But either way, I mean, interesting out the gate here, because obviously teams aren't usually typically all that honest until we, you know, get that countdown all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're starting to see a little bit better here. Orisa's starting to be kind of what we see as that mainstay tank, especially for this point in particular, even though you could see something like a Ramatra, even something a little bit more divey, or a little bit more mobility like a Hazard. Orisa, just with the survivability and sustainability, is very, very strong here. BAP has been a really fun thing to see as well, and outside of that, I mean, we're seeing a mirror match, which was not something I necessarily expected, but I'm not mad about either. I mean, Cass, like I said, really strong right now. I think a little bit better than Freya. And remember, Freya banned out this map, so Cass and Sode are going to probably be the two you see the most here.
Yep, I think 100% here right now is... You can kind of see Shikigami just trying to hang around on the high ground, kind of secure for as long as they can, getting a little bit of pressure right now as Lambert wants to force them all the way, and so far seems to be doing the job pretty well right now as point has unlocked. Bureau tries to go in, just doesn't have the cooldowns to be able to do anything with that right there, so Tep going to be able to finish them off right now, so a 5v4 situation. As you're eventually going to see the deflect come through, J-Man going down, and with that, first fight should be secure.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to see Alternate here get this first point capped, and now if you're Shikigami, you're just going to have to regroup. I mean, they didn't really do anything wrong. Sparrow maybe got taken out a little bit too early, and that kind of affected the rest of the team there, as they really needed that Genji to kind of clean up a couple things. But right now, I mean, they have to get through this incredibly hard choke to get through, because even if you try to rotate through one of the opposite chokes, you're going to give this this alternate team enough time to rotate to it and kind of meet you head on.
I mean, yeah, 100% in this scenario right here, and the big thing to worry about is that ultimates are already on the board for both squads here. I mean, Juno and Panther both about to have their M matrices. Of course, Juno going to go first and foremost in this scenario, just trying to gain a bunch of space. Big terror surge right here. It's only going to get rid of the immortality field at the end of the day here, and Deco going to help open up the door right now, and I think the use of that M matrix should fully open up the door here for Shikigami to start moving through right here. Just have a couple more to finish around here, but they'll be able to cap at 50% right here on bright side, not lose anybody in the process.
Yeah, and a really good fight there by Shikigami. Coming back into that one, Juno maybe invested their amp matrix a little bit too early. I think they needed to try to match Z Panther with a good pop theirs out, and then Amity tried to help him out, but ended up just kind of putting the rest of the team in their bad spot. Lampet got taken out very early on there by Deku, who now has a rally. J-Man has Deadeye. I mean, if you're Shikigami, you're in a really good spot right here just to kind of take a fight. I mean, you have ultimates at your side here, especially having that Terror Surge. That's going to be able to help you out a lot here.
Yeah, Blade's gonna be going for right now, but Lampet gets kind of slashed away. Spiro ends up going down anyway right here. Surge is activated, and unfortunately, this is an ult dump in a scenario where they're not, well, actually, again, Social ends up going down as a result, so this isn't over quite yet right now as Lampet's being forced around. Amity doesn't have the most health in the world as Tep is going to hit that Deadeye just to be able to gain a little bit more space right now. And to be fair, Dex, it's definitely doing the trip, but with Lampet gone right here and 50% already on the board here, I would be surprised if Alternate made anything happen in this situation.
No, the only thing that Ultimate might be making happen here is just a faster way back to spawn, as you see everyone here on Shikigami cleaning up Social. Oh, they're going to be able to grab that large health pack right there to keep him alive, but that would have been a very, very costly stagger pick right there. Z-Panther, though, already up to another amp matrix here. Juno's going to have this a little bit faster, so if you are alternate here, you should be able to play into that a little bit faster, but you have to be ready for the blade, because you know Sparrow has not used it just yet, and that's going to allow Z-Panther, who, hey, also now has their Amex ready to go, to duel out the other Amex on the other side when Juno probably sees fit.
Yeah, Sparrow's waiting for that opportunity right here, right now, and the backline is Sparrow wanted to find the opportunity earlier, really couldn't quite, and now it is here. Gonna get deflected pretty much immediately, though. Has to slash away just to be kept alive right here, but with two already down right now, it's not looking fantastic right now. You're just hanging around as Sparrow does get taken out, so it's not quite over, but it's just the last touch from Solskjaer right here, and hey, for Shikigami, ends up being a pretty good start for them.
Yeah, a really good start, and they honestly played that last fight incredibly well. I think Amity maybe overpushed themselves, overextended themselves, really. They tried to go for point, try to drag a fight to point, but you saw it right there. Everyone on Shikigami just decided to say, okay, Amity, we'll let you go. We're just going to chase down the rest of your team who's kind of just sitting off point, and it ended up working out great for them. They got rid of Juno there very early on before they could even think about using that Amp Matrix. A really good starting round there for Shikigami, especially after how that first fight went. Everything after that almost went to perfection for them. I mean, they were able to kite out ultimates. They were able to find value with their own ultimates, giving them a really good start here on this map. Looks like no big swaps, though, other than J-Man swapping over to the Soj here on this map.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the case right here. I think Sojourn could find a little more value in the situation, but more interestingly, Sparrow over on the far end now. Honestly, the Genji not able to find a whole lot previously before, but Deco is already getting taken out, so not exactly the beginning that you're hoping to really find the situation. Even Deco seems to be a little confused as to what's happened here so far, as Sparrow just needs a little bit of care right here, and unfortunately will eventually be provided. Eventually, Juno has gone down. Lampin not far behind, so again, this is a really good beginning as Deco gets some revenge, taking Temp off the edge. And that is going to secure the point once again here. Shikigami keeping the momentum securely in their hands. Oh boy.
Looks like we're getting a pause here as probably someone has disconnected. But I mean, like, here's the thing. Amity finding Deku out that early on. Hey, great pick, but they're playing Lucio. They can get back in time. You saw it right there. Shikigami played that kind of fight perfectly, allowing Deku to get back in before they really did anything. Alternate tried to take advantage of it, but just really wasn't able to. And right now, on the other side, I mean, Sparrow's playing really in good spots, making sure Temp doesn't have the good angles, Juno doesn't have good angles onto them, and just finding a lot of that burst damage, allowing the rest of their team to really clean up here. We are being told it is a tech issue here for, it looks like probably alternate. But I mean, if you're Shikigami, this is how you wanted this one to go. You're kind of playing a composition that, if you look at the other side, does kind of get being out at certain levels, especially when you're looking at Sparrow with Temp, Juno, and Lampit on there, being able to probably get rid of that Pharah pretty quickly. But if J-Man on the Soj can really cause a lot of distraction, they will allow Sparrow to find that value on the Pharah.
Yeah, it's like you can definitely chase the Pharah, but that's going to come at a cost here, because Sparrow doesn't have the luxury of playing aggressive, and at this point they realize that pretty simply, that you have to kind of play back and kind of play the field as best you can here. So if you're going to push in the situation, if you're alternate, which we're going to see if that's going to be the case as we're getting back into things here, you have to do so carefully, because if you go in too fast, too furious, I mean, we saw before, Deco and Amity, or more so, Chain and Deco are going to punish you.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you're alternate, you're still trying to find any good opening you can. Again, Chain kind of playing dangerously here up front, but they're the Orisa. They can take that damage and get healed up by the healers right here. Z-Panther just going to be pumping as much into them as they possibly can. And I mean, right now, they're just kind of begging alternate here to come fight them on the high ground.
Yeah, but alternate, I mean, obviously that'd be a very bad idea to kind of go up that high ground. Too many boobs to have to deal with right here. Even if you can use your gold form, as Temp pretty much gets blown to smithereens right there. Going to move in, Amity getting destroyed, and they're trying to find a flip right now. Unlikely to find such, though, as Juno burnt away. Deco does end up going down right here, but that's likely going to be the extent of the damage here, as Lampit going to be the last one to fall, but actually does manage to get the mega health back, so is alive a little bit longer. Going to see whether that's going to be a stagger, and it won't be.
It won't be, and now Chain's kind of in a bad spot. Amity following them down to the underground section right there. It's gonna actually kind of hurt alternate. I mean, if they just went straight to point, they might have had a good opportunity to try to take something here, but ultimates are gonna be online here for both sides. Z-Panther did use the Amp Matrix, so Juno kind of has one for free this fight.
Yeah, and Chain, I know Chain is thinking about going in there and using this all right now, and I gotta say, it's definitely an idea, but Chain is being hit with everything right now. They realize how low they are. Literally gonna pull in, just double ult onto Temp. Dang, I don't know who Temp owes money to, but apparently owes a little too much right here. Rally gonna be invested. Is Chain gonna move in aggressively? Why would this happen? No, what happened? Oh, no.
Deku got jabbed out of feet.
Oh no. This is so unfortunate, and now they're going to try to find a flip right here, maybe try to bully Juno into a corner, but Juno is just getting all the care in the world here. This is going to be a slow burn of a loss, I think.
It is, and I really feel like once you lost that beat, you probably should have just gotten out of the fight. Anyway, Z-Panther, though, taking 2 with them, but now the question is Chain going to be able to get out alive? Sparrow as well. Looks like looks like Alden just going to allow those 2 to escape right here, but, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a jab cancel out a beat here, but Lambent has Blade ready to go. We do have another Amber chip, but the Blade out here early on, and goodbye, Sparrow.
Yeah, Sparrow just doesn't get to live today, unfortunately. Not in the schedule, but 50% and counting. Still a 4v5 situation. Just no ults on the table means you do have to just simply give this up right here. If you push it, you're not really going to get a whole lot out besides maybe that Deadeye, but Tim isn't going to pull it that easily.
No, not at all here. But losing Lambent, that might actually kind of force out this Deadeye, especially with Temp already trying to get in that backline here. But, I mean, Chain already focusing on them.
Wow, and yeah, they're going to do this without any ults necessary, but this next fight is going to be very ult heavy right here, especially a scenario which, you know, is going to get staggered out a little bit here. They're going to have 4 ults going into this fight, but unfortunately for Shikigami, they're getting close to a lot, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're Shikigami, you might just want to try to get out as many ultimates as you can from the other side. I mean, they did a really good job kiting out ults on point 1. This is a good map to kite out too, just because of how everything is kind of set up here. Deadeye, though, out early from Temp.
Very early, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure how much I really like this as it's out. Overtime is going to be inevitably activated right here. Chain going to try to find something. He's going to trade out at the end of the day. Deco and Social going to be the first ones going down. Amity in a bit of a weird scenario right here as Chain is trying to chase a ghost up in the sky right now, but needs to be able to focus on staying alive. They're trading back and forth. Amity, did Amity pull Z-Panther off of the high ground? Am I?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
They did. They pulled Z-Panther off the high ground. A great play by them. And now if you're the rest of Shikigami here, you are falling back as quickly as you possibly can because you're actually in a good spot here. You're about to have 3 good ultimates. Chain thought about the ball, but I mean, they're still deciding whether or not to go ball or Orisa. That might actually hurt them here now.
Yeah, and now Deco might have to push point and die for it. They're going to go for it. The overtime is going to be activated, thankfully, right here. And now it's going to come down to this fight. It's going to be trading out. Sparrow goes down early. They're being bullied. And now point flip is going to come through. But, I mean, Dex, at what cost?
Yeah, I felt like Chain maybe being a little bit indecisive there, making that swap kind of slow down the entirety of Shikigami right there. Alton almost not capping it, but they're going to end up getting the cap, fighting Sparrow to boot. The beat finally coming out right there. Actually, no.
I can't believe it.
I mean, hey, it doesn't count. Yeah. Yeah, that's 2. That's 2. Okay, but let's put it like this. Shikigami is still doing everything right. They're playing very, very well. And again, coming into this series, we highlighted that being like this is a more important series for them than it is for Alternate, but Alternate still. You want to be able to take care of these teams that are kind of struggling at the moment, kind of sitting towards the bottom of the standings. This Shikigami team is definitely one of those teams you cannot necessarily just sleep on. I mean, they're already showing so far why they are one of those teams that's on the up and up here at the moment. And Hunter, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is normally a map where we could see some dive. I'm surprised that we're seeing basically what we've been seeing the entire map here. Sparrow and Lambent now over onto the Tracer here, and you do see the dueling Cassies again, but I would still be expecting a dive. Instead, Orisa might just be these 2 teams' go-to.
Yeah, I mean, the most I've ever seeing is the fact that Sparrow and Lambent have both going over to the Tracer here. His Social has gone down extremely early, and now J-Man and Squad are going to be able to move forward here. High ground is still under the control of Alternate, though, but Amity is literally getting burnt to smithereens. You see the pressure being put directly onto Juno. Of course, the back is Social going to go over. Thought about the Moira for a moment, but I think just did that to fade further forward to get some more space. As, I mean, Alternate doing a really good job of just contesting and making this last as long as possible so they can get Social back.
Yeah, but again, you see Amity and Chain going at it, or the Immortality Field being invested, but there's a much bigger scrum happening off in the side room.
Yeah, but again, Social has gone down first, though. Getting pushed out of the room is Amity right here. Is hoping to find a lot of bodies. Unfortunately, only body that has been taken is then being sent back to the spawn room. Deco does end up going down, but Flip inevitably still going to go over to Shikigami. And now J-Man and Z-Panther already coming up on their ults.
And yeah, you talked about right there, ults coming up here. That was one long team fight. I mean, Social already died twice. That's something you don't really see in the first team fight. One member dying 2 times here. So Ultimate's gonna be here soon. Both Deadeyes, you're going to have Amp Matrix here for Z Panther. Juno's going to be able to build up to it very quickly. Amity, though, having this Terror Surge a little bit earlier than Chain might just give the advantage here to Alternate, but they need to try to find some way in, especially with that Pulse Bomb. That Lampet's about to have another pause, so probably another slight tech issue coming out here. But again, I'm just looking at the ultimates right now. You have to kind of play this one a little bit fast, in my opinion. If you're alternate, you have the advantage with the Terror Surge, the Amp Matrix. You're not that far away from a Pulse Bomb. That is 3 ultimates you could use to really win a fight early. But again, you don't want to use them all at once. Maybe 2 at the most, just to try to get something going here, because you already see it right there. 26% for Shikigami. They probably felt like they should have won University, so they're definitely going to try to win this one dominantly, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely what you're hoping for in this situation. And right now, with what I'm seeing, because my perspective is literally set on Temp right now, who just took the pad up to the high ground and has a Deadeye in hand. And I think Shikigami is in, I don't know if I would call it an awkward situation. It's kind of what you should be doing. You have a lot of people bunker on the side. Your tank is being supported on point here. But the problem is that eventually Chain is going to have to drop back to help out their backline here, because I imagine there's going to be a pretty heavy push into that right room, and that gives Temp all the room in the world to simply drop down or stay back and just kind of just take these pot shots. And I think that's the idea they're going for. But Dex, we're going to see what that is momentarily, as Pause is about to be undone.
Yeah, and right now, like I said, if you are alternate, you probably should play a little bit faster. Chain, they're getting very low, has to get supported fast.
Yeah, Temp just hit like every single bullet right there, so definitely what you're hoping for right now is Pulse Bomb available for Lampet, about to be available for Spiro, as well as Temp. Perhaps bites off a little bit more than they could chew right here. Amity hoping to find something, only getting rid of an Immortality Field right now, but Lampet is going to catch that on right now. Going to get super low. Unfortunately, he holds it just too long as Pulse Bomb comes out, catches on the nothing, and in the process of the fight, the point flips over as J-Man, hoping to find something, will eventually get rid of Amity, which means this fight is sitting far more securely, and J-Man is not happy about the clip, and at the end of the day, the percentile here is maybe going to get 16 at best.
And J-Man has been putting on a hell of a performance this map. Only died 3 times, a lot of eliminations to boot right there, and a nice combo with Chain and J-Man. J-Man finding Temp out. You will lose Sparrow here, but the combo with Chain and J-Man, Chain actually javelin Amity away, allowing J-Man's Deadeye to find them out.
Yeah, 100%. Rally being thrown back by Social, though. Social really wants to hang in here with the rest of the squad right here, but now we just have a Deadeye to the name. But for Shikigami, literally nothing on the table. Z Panther is the closest at 70% to the next. And Matrix and Spiro gets deleted on the spot. Oh my goodness gravy. As they're going to move in, 80% plus still on the board. You definitely want to stall out this point right here, but instead Shikigami is going to barely touch in time. And at this point, they might be committed to potentially dying on this point.
Yeah, especially with Chain falling right there. You're going to get up to 99% and then just give it over, knowing that, hey, all you have to do is win one fight, and this map is basically yours. I mean, Shikigami, though, isn't a little bit of a better spot here when you look at ultimates. Yeah, Amity, Juno, and Lampet are all about to have theirs, but you're about to have 3-4 ultimates ready for Shikigami at some point in this engagement. Lampet's Blade is going to have to be something special here this time around. The Pulse Bomb that he had last time when they were on Tracer before making the swap did find one pick, but it didn't really end up helping them win the team fight.
Yeah, it really didn't right here, but I'm hoping to see Lampet do something great right here. As Matrix is used very aggressively, but Lampet is probably going to go aggressive as soon as their dash is ready to go here right now. Deadeye forcing everyone to a really uncomfortable position. J-Man is going to be able to space out things for a while, but it doesn't end up doing a whole lot, but Temp ends up going down, so the possibilities are endless. Immortality Field is now out, which means Lampet has the opportunity for a Blade right here, as they are gonna go for it right now, looking for target number 1 within Panther, looking for the slice and dice. Will eventually get the deflect right here, gonna help get rid of J-Man as well, keeping the fight alive, as Dex currently, I think we're in a 3v3, as they're gonna back out.
Yeah, they are. Sparrow has to really get out. They cannot afford to die here. Lampet actually going to go chasing them down. Terror Surge coming out from Amity, forcing out the rally. Rallies out from both sides. And I mean, you can see it right now. Alternate understands if they win a team fight here now early, they could end up winning the map.
Yeah, and it might literally just come down to that, as Chain has gone down first and foremost, and that is a devastating loss right there when the final fight is very much in front of them. They don't have the opportunity to wait around. Spiro is going to have to be a touch here and enforce this point for as long as they can.
Arrow gonna get the touch right here to force overtime. Chain coming back on the Wrecking Ball, but Temp does have Deadeye ready to go here. That could be something big if they're able to find value with it.
Yeah, and Spiro going to escape temporarily, getting a bit of salvation right now, but still, a target needs to be found here. It is entering desperation territory as Temp gonna have a Deadeye right here. Chain eventually gets taken care of right here, and it's down to Z-Panther with a last chance here to make something happen. I mean, Spiro was just being chased all around the place. This was such an amazing opening start as Amity gets pretty much soloed in that scenario, and honestly, Dex, I like the decision right here, and with that, Lampus now gone down. Temp's in a rough scenario, but Juno still hanging around as well. Pulse Bomb sticks, J-Man gonna roll away, but it ends up hitting Juno as well, and it inevitably takes them both out!
And I said J-Man's been having a hell of a map. They find Social out as well. Emily coming back on the Doomfist to get a touch, but Chain recognizes them, but they're gonna be denied! The whip shot from Deku stops them, and Shikigami will take our first map of the night here, Hunter, and whew, I don't think, like, me and you expected a good series. I think we're in for an incredible series after this first map.
Yeah, I mean, there's the man himself going in, and honestly, having such clutch plays. I mean, being able to get a lot of the final blows is what mattered the most in a lot of these situations right here. I mean, Lampin was very much in that department as well. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what... These are just some insane plays from DPS players. The pulse that ends up sticking onto two people at the end of the day, J-Man's simply able to help go in and finish them off directly after the fact. That sets up the opportunity for the fight when using the Deadeye to simply get rid of Amity and secure a 4v4 situation and give yourself a natural opportunity. Because if Amity lives right there, I think the chances of Shikigami winning that fight is devastatingly low.
Yeah, very, very low. But I mean, I cannot talk about how good those DPS played for Shikigami right there. J-Man 36-5 there, an incredible job. Sparrow 35-10, but they're playing those kind of heroes that are always rushing into the back line and, you know, finding a decent amount of value. And they did a really good job. Chain, in my opinion, also did a really good job on the Orisa, taking the battle there to Amity a lot of the times. And outside of that first point, it felt like that they were always ending up winning it there. And we mostly saw Orisa from these two, which is something that I talked about throughout the map, something I thought we would see swap up from certain points. But these two teams really want to play Orisa, it seems. And I mean, this was a very, very close map. If you look at the stats, it's hard to kind of tell, but you do start to see in that eliminations pool or category a little bit what team ended up winning out at the end of it. And Shikigami, like we said, Hunter, coming into this series, they want to try to keep up that momentum they have winning their last two games. And right now, starting off very good here tonight. Alternate, though, they want to play fast. Already know what our second map of the night will be. It's going to be King's Row. They don't want to see the Brit herself. There's going to be no Tracer this map.
Yeah, there is going to be no Tracer this map at the end of the day. Which, honestly, I think it's being the right call. I think you saw just how devastating it kind of really was when you eventually get all that momentum on Spiro. Because Spiro did have a rough 2 first points, but I think the most impact they had in the series was when they were on that Tracer and were really taking it to Lampit in that style. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go around, because you might simply have to fall back on something like the Sojourner. Maybe even bring out the Fire. Honestly, on a map like King's Row, it's not even a bad pick.
No, it makes a lot more sense on King's Row than maybe what we saw a little bit on University. Second ban, though, for this map, gonna be Hazard, a tank I thought we would see a little bit in map 1. Well, we're not even gonna have the chance to see him here in map 2. So, I mean, that strong kind of dive playstyle, unless you're gonna be playing with Winston or potentially Wrecking Ball, kind of out the door here now. Amity teasing us with a Diva pick, but I don't necessarily know if that's gonna be what we see. However, you look at the other side, Chain and Shikigami. I mean, Chain's gonna be coming out on the Winston, which, I mean, we talk about this map not necessarily being much, not necessarily being the brawl map that it was known for all the way back in Overwatch 1 and towards the start of Overwatch 2. But Winston on defense is a very, very interesting pick. I feel like it's one of those make or break kind of picks. It looks like Chain decided to consider that again, going over to the Orisa. I'm not going to talk about what we're seeing from Alternate just yet, but the Doomfist is a possibility. Juno on the Zenyatta would also be fun, but no, the Baps seem to be what these two teams kind of favor here. So not necessarily a big shock. Diva, though, from Amity. So they want to try to play a little bit faster, and they want to try to disrupt that back line. And you already see some swaps coming out for them. Temp back over to the cast. Social now back on to the Brig.
Yeah. Oh, and that is it's not the start you're hoping for. You don't want to see Spiro down that early. It's 45, though. It's not unwinnable, but you're just seeing a really early drop here at the end of the day from Chain, who's going to get separated from a lot of the care that they could be getting right here. Amity has all of the health in the world as well, so they can simply hang around and make things happen. As J-Man and Chain getting low, J-Man is getting a ton of pressure, but is surviving as Amity helping their team get towards that second tick right now. All the pressure goes in as Spiro comes back and gets a little revenge, but unfortunately, I don't think that revenge is going to mean a whole lot here.
No, and I mean, like, you remember Chain came out potentially wanted to play the Winston, and they second-guessed themselves, and I thought it was the right move because I really do think Orisa's a little bit better on this one. But going up against the D.Va who can get onto those high grounds, like I said, they wanted to go after that support line. Z-Panther and Deku did such an incredible job last map. They got rid of them early on here, or just put a lot of pressure on them, forced them into spots that they really couldn't heal Chain up, and you already see Chain swapping over here to the Ramatra now instead. A little bit more survivability, a little more damage potential here as well. Spiro, though, finding Lampit out here might allow Shikigami to, you know, start playing up a little bit towards the bookshop.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you can't really play the archway. You could push super hard and go into it, but I mean, you've gone and taken the time to make the swap, so you kind of have to give up the possibility for the time of being. But MD hanging around on the cart right now, getting closer and closer to that bomb. As Juno, Temp, Social, Lampin all coming around to their own ultimates as well. I mean, this could be a big ult economy fight right now, but everyone's kind of taking their sweet time. No one wants to make the first move.
I mean, the first move is going to probably be made by Alternate here. They have some ultimates they could throw out here, or at least try to get the amateurs up on the other side, but that would probably mean Juno has to invest their own.
Yeah, Lampit is set up in Blade territory right now. Could be the first ult that opens things up, but no. Deflected Spiro ends up being the unlucky recipient of that deflect. And now they're simply being surrounded right here. Rally gets used by Deco, and a desperation attempt right here is going to get one. But that is not enough at the end of the day right here, as J-Man is going to experience a late death, unfortunately. And for Shikigami, things definitely not going to plan out the gate. Oh, a swap? No, Amity just going back for a moment here. As actually, I hope everything is all right over there.
I totally didn't forget the swap calls.
That is, yeah, that is interesting. That is, something we forget to do from time to time, Dex, but we'll take care of that thing momentarily. As, regardless, fights online. Spiro, again, gonna have the blade and is gonna go not aggressive with it, I guess. Just gets taken out immediately. You do get the D-Mech, though, so the opportunity is there, but with Chain down, I mean, they're just kind of getting bulldozed through right now. J-Man last on to the point, not gonna be able to find a miracle here, as nearly 5 minutes on the clock here, and Alternate clearly not happy about dropping that first map.
Yeah, and you can just see it here. Like, Shikigami just kind of seems a little bit lost here at the moment. They're not really comfortable playing up with this up-tempo kind of playstyle that Alternate's playing with here. They haven't been able to shut down Amity. That's been one big thing. Amity, yet to die here, has gone through a bomb, so if they can get them demexed here, that would probably guarantee him at least a little bit of time to get a breather, but Amity just staying alive. J-Man, though, that's someone you need to come alive here, especially after last match performance.
Yeah, and Blade gets used after 2, but Lampit has gotten rid of 2. Eventually gets taken out by Z-Panther, but we've got to wonder whether or not the damage is already done. Amity has been taken out, and Mac likely to experience their first death right here. Still fighting for their life, but Z-Panther gonna finish them off, and Shikigami, I think, realistically, with their first pure fight win.
Yeah, no, that was their first fight win here. And they, like I said, they just needed something to slow them down. And look, you even see Amity realize that the D.Va's not necessarily going to work as much on this point. Going over to the Zarya instead. I thought they were going to come out with the Orisa, but no. Zarya, it is their time to shine now. This is going to be something very difficult for Chain to deal with, because once that Zarya gets charged up, it is going to be a problem, not only for Chain, but for the rest of the entirety of Shikigami.
It really is right here. MH getting used early right here. Got to be able to keep up everybody for the time being. But Juno going to use theirs directly afterwards. Amity pretty much eliminates Hiko on the spot. And now Spiro just hoping to be able to survive. Blade coming up shortly, but Temp wants to use this Deadeye to potentially just eliminate Chain on the spot, but Chain is able to hide away momentarily, hoping to get everybody pulled into a Terror Surge. Gets a ton of bodies. Immortality Field, though, does come online as Social gets deleted directly after the fact, as, I mean, doing a really good job keeping themselves in this fight. Yeah,
doing an incredible job, and honestly, Temp's Deadeye, they were really just trying to get rid of J-Man. that entire time. They could have probably taken care of Chain. I think Chain had gone through Fortify, gone through Jab, and gone through Jab Spin. So they could have been able to get rid of him and probably ended up doing a little bit more of that fight. But no, instead they tried to go after J-Man. However, I mean, Amity, 60% to a grab, did a pretty good job that first life on them here. But they're going to have to deal with a Deadeye and a Blade this fight. So that's going to be something that will be a little bit challenging for both those bubbles to really handle.
Yeah, Spearow has been struggling to make a whole lot happen. It's pretty much going to be, is almost just getting soloed again right here. Is Blade going to be popped this time? Hoping to find something in the air. Trying to get rid of one, but it's literally just swiping away, and I mean, Juno just literally won't go down. Just stays alive the entire time, and unfortunately, it's not going to find anything as that point is getting closer and closer.
You're going to have some ultimates here if you're Shikigami, but you're walking into ultimates on the other side again. Amity's going to have a grab here at some point this fight, and you need to get a touch. It's going to be very difficult for you to find that touch.
Yep, J-Man gets deleted, Panther gets deleted. Spearow, though, is going to come back over onto the Adventure to try to keep things alive right here. Needs to survive for all of 2 seconds just to be able to commit to a little bit more stall. Unfortunately, decides to come out pretty much immediately, which who knows what the difference would have made elsewise, but unfortunately, that will do it. 1:44 on the clock here. Ends up being a very successful map for Alternate, just having a lot of pressure, being able to play aggressively, and unfortunately, I mean, Spearow just getting caught out pretty early in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing. And Spearow and J-Man, I mean, they were big contributors last map, shutting them down that entire round. Chain also struggling was something that really did hurt them. I mean, Amity kind of dominated on the D.Va pick, and I just don't think that anyone on Shikigami is necessarily ready for that. And then they made the swap over to the Zarya, and it just kind of put Shikigami, again, at a little bit of an inopportune spot. They didn't necessarily want to make another swap to try to deal with that. They stuck with the Orisa and really hoped that there would be a little more help there from the rest of their team, but it just wasn't there in the end.
Yeah, it just really wasn't, but we're going to see what the swaps are going to be like right here, as at least for Shikigami, nothing really seems to be all that different, and as a matter of fact, it looks like that's going to be the case for both sides. Social is going to be over on that Kiriko instead this time. That's the only real difference this time around, as you gotta wonder if you want to swap anything around if you're Shikigami, because obviously not the most successful of rounds right here. But, I mean, what's your opinion, Dex? Do you think it's soon enough to you could try to pull something out different, or do you try to see if this could work for another round?
I mean, I think what we saw last round from Shikigami is they're kind of stuck in their ways here. They don't necessarily want to make too drastic of a swap here just yet. If they go maybe the first 2 minutes of this time bank without really finding anything, then you might start to see some swaps from them, but you need just to get something here early on, especially from your DPS line, because like I said, they did a lot last map, and that was a big reason why Shikigami ended up winning that one. J-Man and Spearow kind of shut down the entirety of last round there by everyone on the side of Ultimate, so you need to see a step up from almost everyone.
You really do right here, and it starts with getting a good first fight out the gate here and getting rid of Lampet. I would say that's a pretty good example, as Amity gets deleted instantly as well. It's going to get bullied into the corner, as, I mean, that is, I mean, Dex, that is as ideal a first fight as you can possibly have.
That's as great of a first fight as you could have, and especially with what I said. The DPS line struggled, their tank struggled, their support struggled. Well, they all basically got a kill in that fight right there. A great start here now for Shikigami. However, because you killed everyone pretty fast, Arches is going to be a little bit of a problem for them, as you already see Alternate here just getting set back up. And, I mean, Hunter, it's going to be interesting just to see how long we potentially see the D.Va stick here for Alternate if they get kind of shut down here again pretty early on.
Yeah, I could see the Zarya coming out here pretty easily if Amity were to fall on this next fight. I think it did wonders before. I think it'd do wonders again, and maybe it could force Chain out of the Orisa right here. Social gets eliminated pretty quickly. So door opening wide right now, as poor Temp is, I mean, no man's land, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of how you want these fights to go if you're Shikigami. You struggled immensely last round up until third point where you're able to eat away at that time bank. And right now, you're all gas, no brakes. I mean, hell, you're only pushing Chain and J-Man up and just leaving everyone else on the cart. They understand that they need to have probably a sizable time bank going into the final point push just because of how difficult it is. And hey, you've only invested the damage, which you know Juno's going to have theirs ready to go here, but you should have ultimates here to really, make a difference. And Deadeye already out here from J-Man just buying more space.
That's very early ultis considered right here. I don't like how early it was, but it does make things a little bit more desperate here, I suppose, as 2 meters and change right now online. Amity get ready to get rid of one, and Temp Just kind of just having the Deadeye as a side bonus right here to clear things around, but still 4 minutes on the board right here is unfortunately for Kiko going to take a bit of a late death as they're going to take their sweet time clearing everybody away.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You got that card pushed up pretty far. If you're Shikigami, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a double-edged sword. You push it up very far, and now it's going to be difficult for you to get it back to that point. But look at what you have coming up here. Rally, Terror Surge. You're not that far away from a Blade. Z-Panther's been able to build to Amich, is pretty fast over. The other side, Bomb for remaking your own Blade, your own Rally. So you're in a really good spot if you're both sides right now. I think, Hunter, it really comes down to who finds that first pick. And this round, Shikigami's done a good job finding someone out here early on.
And you'll see you might end up using the Terror Surge right here just to pull bodies back in. 100% is what happens, but Bomb gets used as a defense mechanism right there. Ends up working out beautifully as Shane can't find the whole process, and eventually he's just going to force their way to point, get a little more ult charge, and die. But honestly, I maybe not would have pushed at all because Amity is just going to get more and more charge towards their mech, but Lampet does die.
Lampet does die, and you do. So does Social. I mean, Shikigami's right back in this now. They can play fast here. They have a Blade to their name, but, well, they had a Blade to their name.
Yeah, had is becoming the keyword very quickly as Amity's back in the mech, but for exchange, end up losing temp right here. So a fight that probably should have been alternates already now isn't quite in their favor right here. 2 meters, 1 meter, it's less than a meter away as Amity is going to get D-Max getting that touch right there, and looks like they're all going to get burned away one at a time right here as eventually clock going to be added up right now. 4 minutes now on the clock. I mean, Dex, it's an opportunity to finish with more than 2 minutes on the clock here, and honestly, finishing the map at all, honestly.
Yeah, but look at the swap you're seeing coming out here now from Alternate. Temp going over to the Ashe, wants a little bit more damage here. Longer range as well. Dynamite will be able to just annoy Shikigami here. Social going back over to the Brig after coming out on the Lucio just to try to get a touch here. But, I mean, you have about a 30-second less difference here in time bank if you're Shikigami. But Deadeye out early from J-Man just to buy some space.
I mean, I don't hate it at the end of the day. You get around a very difficult corner to fight right here as Temp is in a rough area. Spiro hoping to find something with this Blade. Hasn't throughout the series so far, but at last, it seems to be finding some level of value as Amity and Squad is in a really rough scenario. Lamp is taken care of. Amity literally goes back into spawn to get back to full health, just to be able to go out, burn every cooldown possible to go for the touch as Amity just has to remain on the point momentarily. Venture comes out for Temp, and now Shikigami answering back yet again, gonna nearly double the time that Alternate was able to finish with.
I mean, every kind of doubt that I had for Shikigami going into that last round is basically gone on this map now. They played an almost perfect round right there, only truly losing one team fight. And I think there's definitely some moments where if you go back and watch this, if you're Alternate, where maybe you were pushed up a little bit too far after winning a definite team fight. Yeah, you had 3 members of Shikigami sitting inside the pub, and it's one of those things where you're saying like, hey, we can go in there, probably find 1, 2. If one of us dies, no big deal, because you know that there was a DPS, a tank, and a support in there. If you find 1 or 2 of them, you're probably good with that. But you lost Lampet, then you lost Social, and it put them so far behind the 8 ball going into that next engagement that, I mean, they were just touching to stall out the car a little bit and didn't necessarily work out for them here. However, if you remember going back to the first round here where it was Alternate attacking, Shikigami really had no good response on this first point defense at all. They really struggled into almost anything or everything. I mean, the diva from Amity was just a little bit too much for Shane to really deal with because they couldn't get up to that high ground to support their support line.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the biggest issue I feel like I really saw in that scenario right there. And you're going to see a bit of a tonal switch up right here as looking for the double... Oh, somehow Nico gets slapped in that situation. Unfortunately, gets slapped just out of the shot of a headshot. So either way, Amity gonna go back over on the Zarya once again, and it had a lot of success last time. So gonna see if that'll be the case here once more as Lampet stuck in a room that I would not want to personally be in right here. Still managed to get rid of Spiro, manages to stay alive momentarily, but eventually gets taken out as Dex now running a 4v4.
Yeah, you have to remember, in overtime, everyone's already up to those major perks here, so you see Deku getting some advantage there from one of those perks on Brig. J-Man very low, but that immortality will be able to keep him alive, and hey, we're seeing the Brave for the first time here tonight.
Yeah, Temp literally already has the ult online, a tick is online, Lampet had the deflect to be able to keep themselves alive. Second tick on the board. J-Man just gets hit with like 6, like back to back to back. Bro could not catch a break, unfortunately, and now Chain just needs to try to stay alive. And Matrix he's used here, and this could be a desperate attempt to try to pull this one back right here. It's still 144. It's going to be a really tough scenario to have to pull back here as J-Man desperately trying to make it back. Amity getting super low, but it's just building up further and further. Lampid, though, has gone down. So the possibility of holding is 100% there as the rally was there to kind of support the team. As if Amity goes down, that would be devastating, and they do.
It's not going to be as devastating as you really think it is here. They're not that far away from a grab, but it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to make a swap over something a little bit more mobile. You're coming up to Ultimate. Temple already builds up to their second bolo here right now. Chain does have the terror, so they could potentially just try to deny them at the door. Rally out, though, from Social.
I wouldn't blame them at all for doing this right here. Gonna pull a bunch of bodies in. It's a rough scenario. They pull it really early. Temp's gonna lose out on it. Well, it doesn't lose out, but it's the final whole lot besides the immortality field. And now Spiro hoping to finish things off with the blade, but J-Man gets away with 2. And now it's only gonna be a 79% on the board right here. And Shikigami is being given an opportunity, one fight away from potentially being at match point.
Hunter, they played that round a lot better than what we saw the first time. And the Zarya pick, I thought wasn't going to be able to do enough, but Shane did such a better job that time around, just playing safe, falling back. And at the same time, Amity didn't necessarily also try to chase them down. They understood their boundaries. Both teams played incredibly well, but Ultimate's in the end finding value there. And I mean, J-Man's Deadeye finding 2, especially while there was a blade and an orbital ray out from the other side at the same moment right there, was a difference maker, not only in the map, but potentially in the series here if Shikigami comes out on top. But right now, I mean, it looks like they're going to be sticking with the Zarya here for alternate. And outside of that, I mean, I like the Juno picks for both sides. Honestly, I think if you're Z Panther, I feel like we've been seeing maybe a little bit better a little bit better play out of the BAP. So I would stick with that. But it kind of looks like right now they're just going through and making sure they have all the picks here for perks. So if they have to make a swap, they don't have to sit there for a moment selecting the perks.
Yeah, exactly. It's something you're able to do ahead of time, and it's just saving more time since you have the minute here in the lobby to kind of figure things out. But either way, 3 minutes on the clock here. It may seem like a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen, but let me tell you, that time can go away very quickly as Spiro decides to think better and go over to the main instead.
I don't hate it. I actually like this kind of pick here. You saw there's no immortality field on the other side, so if you're able to ice wall off someone, that pretty much guarantees them dying, especially with someone like Amity.
Yeah, right here as Amity is being forced back, and so is the rest of the squad as Lampid. It's just being forced to run away because they can't deflect, you know, the maybe. You just can't do anything about that. As pressure is being brought through, Lampid is just trying their darndest to be able to survive right here. Eventually, J-Man gonna get rid of Temp. This is getting a little scary. Dex Spiro ends up going down though, so the possibility still very much exists right now as Juno trying to run for their life, as it's eventually gonna work out pretty heavily. So we're gonna see the finish off here from Alternate, as unfortunately, just not quite going the way. They had a really good start, but just couldn't finish it out.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you got to tick in that fight. You still have 2 minutes to go here. Really, if you are Shikigami, you don't necessarily need to win fights. Maybe try to get another tick here and just build up ultimates. You know that Ultimate's going to have to invest their own ultimates into these fights, so really make sure they make it close and potentially give themselves a chance to win here. Chain, though, already getting very low, has to play safe here for the moment.
Yeah, you see Lampid is going to go for, I was going to say probably going to go for the blade, and here it is right there. Looking is kind of going in a circle right here, but eventually going to get away with it. Gonna get 2 on the blade, potentially gonna make it a 3rd with the finish as Temps can help finish them off, as Chain should be able to escape without being taken out, but unfortunately put themselves further in the corner. Is being jumped upon, and unfortunately he's gonna die super late.
Okay, and now here's the situation. Yeah, you remember what I said last fight? You know, they could take a fight. Well, now they can't, especially only having 2 ultimates ready to go here. Yeah, they're gonna build up to 3 or 4 this one, but there's still 4 very, very strong ultimates on the other side as well. The Blizzard right now from Sparrow, in my opinion, is gonna probably be what hinges this fight, but you could also see Chain completely get rid of a grab potentially.
Yeah, and right now, honestly, I would use an ult right here to go in super aggressive and get rid of Anthony! Wait, the grab comes out somehow still, so ults are coming in. Everyone's in a rough scenario. Tempest trying to get things away with Lampin. This is just the DPS hanging around. J-Man as it gets taken out late, and it's a 2v2 scenario, but Lampin literally has to run for the deck, but they get taken out, and inevitably, no one's left to touch for alternate, and suddenly, they're down 2-0 to 5-time Shikigami, who... I mean, Dex may not have even been in the playoff conversation a week ago, and now they might be a map away from being right back in it for real.
I mean, like we said, coming into this series, this series was, our Shikigami needed this series more than anything. Alternate, they're still sitting in that top 3, but we also said how you don't really want to sleep on a team, and this Shikigami team, yeah, they've been struggling, but you see the names on this team, Hunter, and you know they're really good players. They just had a rough start to the season here, and they're now picking it back up. Alternate, though, what do they have to do? I mean, it's been 2 incredibly close maps here, but Alternate is kind of slipping up at places where you wouldn't really expect them to. But, like, I think Shikigami, this map for them was that first round when they were defense first, they struggled out of the gate, and they built up to it. They got a lot better as that map went on. Alternate kind of just stayed the same. They didn't get better. They didn't get worse. But Shikigami was able to pass them at a point.
And they really were. And we kind of see this scenario where out of the gate, Alternate obviously gets a lot of momentum. They have a pretty good attack. They clear out the first 2 points without much difficulty at all, without even losing a fight. But you start facing difficulties near the end. You start seeing Shikigami get their confidence up there more and more, get a hold going. And eventually, when they're able to manifest that on their own attack, they're able to do it even better than Alternate did. And they eventually, you know, have struggles eventually taking the ticks that they need. But they went aggressive. I mean, I was going to suggest the idea of you going with one ult to try to force out 2 or 3, put them in such a desperate situation, going all out with that one ultimate, that it forces them to use things. But catching on to Amity, who wasn't able to get the full use of that grab, I mean, that's a devastating way for that fight to have to end for them.
Yeah, I really thought that grab got canceled. I even said grab was canceled, but you mentioned it, that it was out in the back line instead. You really wanted to be in that front line. Or onto the tank there for Shikigami, but no, they went after. They got the right targets. They just weren't able to find the picks. And the fact that Spiro was last alive on the Mei, I think was such a big thing as well, because yeah, you still had Shane there, but you had to deal with the Genji on the other side who could just go around. The deflect though doesn't do anything with Mei's left click there. So great plays there by Shikigami, making sure they win that second map, putting them on the series point. And Hunter, Alternate, want to play fast here again. We know what our third map is, and we know what our bans are. We'll be heading to Watch Point Gibraltar for Hunter. I think deep down, both me and you potentially thought coming into this one that this could be the final map of the series. But I think both me and you thought it might have been the other way around in this moment right here. Watch Point Gibraltar will be our third map. Winston and Lucio are the bans here. So Diva play from Alternate. They seem to favor that one over Winston when it comes to dive anyway. So maybe trying to force Shikigami to mirror it here.
Yeah, if anything, this is gonna make them fall back on something either like the Brigino or the Break Ana. What did I say that right in my head? I said Brigino and Ana. Okay, great. All right, I'm happy with that. But
Kiri as well.
Yeah, honestly, Kiri is also a possibility as well. Kiri, though, definitely, I think, pairs up the best with a support like Lucio, but you can always run it with something like the Ana. That possibility always exists, having a Kiriko that's able to jump around here and there and provide a cleanse when needed. It is extremely impactful, but sometimes you can't really beat the kind of synchronization you can have with something like an Ana Brig. I mean, it is a duo that literally terrorized the game for like almost an entire year. God, even Fearless couldn't dive that backline sometimes. It is insane to deal with as we are waiting to get things started right here. So I believe we did get backed out because apparently the lineup did not get saved properly. So, or getting time to reconnect, get everybody in place here. But with that being the case, I would have thought for a moment that would suggest there might be a swap. But I think for the moment, teams are looking the exact same.
Yeah. And while we have this kind of delay here before starting our third map, I mean, Hunter, if you could pull up the stats on your side or on the stream here, like you look at this here, this is even across the board. The tank play was incredible by both sides. Both Amity and Chain died the least of anyone in the lobby. And especially with playing the tanks they were playing throughout that map is a surprise, especially when you remember they were playing very aggressive on them. They were able to get out of situations where they probably should not have. Those support lines were doing a lot there. You look at Z Panther, 24,000 healing. Insane numbers being put out here. I mean, 24,000 healing is an astronomical number to really think of. 15,000, 19,000 by Juno. I mean, everyone was doing so much here. And look at Temp. Almost 20,000 damage there. I mean, they came out playing the Freya there towards the end, but we didn't see the Freya till overtime. They were able to do so much. And the fact that you're seeing everyone here over a 1 KD, which again, Overwatch, you don't necessarily need to worry about KD. It's still insane. These two teams played they played an incredible map and again here, but Shikigami has found ways this series to come out on top. And right now they're one map win away from pulling off a huge upset here and probably putting their name back into that playoff conversation.
It 100% puts them back into that picture, because if you can beat a team like Alternate, you could potentially take away maps from, or maybe even take wins away from opponents I still have left, like Midori, like Dreamland, who before today you might not have thought would have been the closest games in the world, but now, I mean, Shikigami, a team that has kind of risen back from the ashes a little bit and given themselves a real shot at this. If they're able to come up with a 3-0 victory on Alternate, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I was one of their opponents coming up to the end of the season, the alarm bells would be ringing right now, because it feels like Alternate has kind of just been caught off guard of an opponent that maybe they thought was just going to be a simple 3-0 for them, a nice, quick, 45-minute match. But right now, it's 45 minutes, but it's 45 minutes the exact wrong way.
Yeah, no, it's not an Alternate right now. They have to think of something here. They have to figure something out, because I don't necessarily know who to point at and say, like, hey, they're struggling here. Because like I've said, these two teams have given us two incredibly back and forth maps. I mean, first map of Oasis went to the third point, was 99-99. Shikigami somehow pulled a rabbit out of their hat there and won that one. Then again, an overtime around again on Kings Row. Hunter, we might be in store for an overtime here on Watchpoint.
Honestly, the possibility is very high. It would not surprise me in the absolute slightest if we got to this point right here, but we got to figure out what the case is going to be. One important thing to bring up here, there is a change in the tank category. Aurora going to be coming in as a tank over on the side of Shikigami, specifically, I guess, to come in and have somebody play the Diva, which honestly makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's always that one person potentially on the team that kind of specializes more towards the dive characters like Winston, Diva, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist.
Yeah, and I mean, we mostly just saw Chain playing that Orisa throughout the night. And yeah, we saw a Wrecking Ball from them a little bit on that final map, a final point of Oasis, but it really didn't do much, and they died pretty soon. Their team really cleaned up and won them that map. But now you're coming over to a dive map. What a TP! What a teleport!
Man, generational talent.
You had strat. You had the strat set up.
Dex, I almost always lock onto a sim when they TP, and I'm really sad I didn't get that one. I'm disappointed in myself, but Aurora might be a little disappointed too, getting very close to demeching very quickly. Remember, first map for them in this series, as they're kind of getting forced out immediately. Amity does get hit with the sleep though, so a little bit of a temporary reprieve is granted, but you see Shikigami is just getting forced back further and further really quickly.
But again, we talk about this every time we see this map. Defensive teams are perfectly fine falling back here a little bit, giving some space. They want to take fight where the card is right now, because you always see about one member down there, but a huge anti-nade out there from...
Yeah, Amity gets super low. You see the chase coming through from Aurora. Isn't able to find anything, as that cart has been slowly moving throughout the entirety of this first minute. Aurora just going to be able to hang around on the point, eventually see the pressure onto Lampid. And it's going to get taken out by Spiro, who's been getting the edge up by Lampid as the series has gone on further and further.
Yeah, and that's been one thing to watch. I mean, even when Spiro makes some swaps over here, whenever we see them dueling the heroes, it always seems like they are top. That's not to say Lampett's been able to win them from time to time, but again, Tracer's normally the one you see moving the cart, but defensive teams, again, like I said, they like to let the cart keep pushing to this point. It really forces the offensive team to make a decision of where they're going to go after, and you see it right now. Alternate's kind of second-guessing who they go after, whether they focus on Aurora or Inspiro on that low line, or go after J-Man and Z-Panther on that high ground.
Yeah, and Temp has gone down, which means no bolo shot, but a nano is very much available. A nice sleep onto Aurora as well to kind of stop a lot of the help you would normally be able to get right here. But J-Man has gotten one, has gotten two, as Aurora there to help finish things away. And Amity is simply gonna have to take the death here, and at this point, oh boy, it's gonna be a slight stagger.
If it even is one, I mean, I think at this point, yeah, okay, Aurora's gonna take him out. But I was gonna say, I think at this point, it might have just been smarter to leave him out of the mech and just run away, because either they could just decide to shoot down mid for as long as they wanted, or just go running off a cliff or back to spawn. And either way, if you go back to spawn, you're probably gonna lose your mech and all the ultimate charge here. But right now, ultimate's up here. 3 here for Shikigami, 4 though for alternate, and that bolo shot from Temp, it did find some value last map, but you really need to find a decent amount of value this time around. J-Man though, looking like they're getting set up for the Deadeye.
Yeah, bolo shot has been used. It's finding some approximate values. Amity able to get rid of Nico, and now J-Man gonna get slept, but still managed to get the damage out. Pulse Bomb is activated. Will manage to get Amity out of the mech, but Bomb is gonna be activated just to find a remech here. So this is kind of on the back of Lampet to find somebody with the stick right now, but Lampet doesn't have a lot of great targets in range.
And Aurora pressuring out the support line there for alternate is a good thing. Amity being put to sleep as well, and now both teams back up to full strength here, basically fighting for first point.
Yeah, and Aurora also has a bomb here momentarily, and is unfortunately gonna have to use it in a really awkward position that might not even be able to remech. Doesn't, just barely, but J-Man and Sparrow are just there. They've been getting more and more consistent as the series has gone on, and now Social, Lamp, and Amity are in such awkward spots.
And I mean, like I kind of said, when we saw Chain kind of struggle on the first map, J-Man and Sparrow did so much to really help Shikigami out. And yet again, right there, Aurora goes falling early in that fight after using their bomb. J-Man and Sparrow clean up the fight and basically deny Amity from even getting anything. Temp coming out on the Widow. Hunter, it's desperate times right now for alternate as they're just trying to find any sort of advantage they can get here.
I mean, if you find the right headshot, it could be very lethal. You know, he's going to have this nano ready to go. This might be the most substantial thing that we have on the menu. As nobody touches the point!
I was going to say, Lampet touched it, but got off of it, I believe, at 3.1.
No.
Oh, geez, Hunter. Well, we're not going to see we're guaranteed not to see an overtime now, so there's that. But the other problem is right now, if you're alternate, like, both these teams have been playing so good throughout the entire series. Right now, that round right there, ultimates started to fall apart as it went on. I mean, they never really truly found value with their ultimates. It seemed like they were trying to maybe overuse them a little bit as well, just to try to win a team fight. But one thing that I can really compliment the Shikigami team on throughout the series here tonight is they understand what they have to do when ultimates come out. They have done a great job kiting out so many ultimates throughout the night here. And now, Hunter, they're 81 meters away from maybe finding the biggest upset of the week here in the Masters tier.
It would 100% be. I'm going to double check the games that are going on right now, but honest to God, this would be the upset. I know 8-2 and 5-5 doesn't sound so significant, but looking at where these teams were a week ago, it 100% would be a massive achievement here for Shikigami to pull this off and again get that momentum, get that confidence to give themselves a real shot of being in the top 8.
Yeah, and I mean, if you even go and look back at last Tuesday, their first game then, they were not necessarily in a good spot. They lost actually both their games last week. Were able to win against Amplify, and that kind of, I think, turned around their entire season here for Shikigami. They beat Boot Troop and now just carry the momentum here, but Alternate's still a very good team. They can definitely make this hold.
Yeah, they 100% could right now, so you have to play this very carefully right here. But honestly, I don't think you have to let your foot off the pedal at all. In fact, I think you still want to go relatively full force. If you are Shikigami, you've been able to get away with it a fair amount here as They're going to go in pretty aggressive. Deco goes down, but the big anti right there is going to trade things around. Spearow has gotten 3. Spearow is not happy about how much they've kind of been taken down in this game. Is Amity going to get demeched? And honestly, they're going to be taken out. And now it's just one on the cart. Lampit will be lucky to get out of here alive, as they're going to be able to go back to the high ground and live for the time being.
Yeah, but again, like I've said, when we've seen the tank kind of struggle here for Shikigami, Aurora did not struggle that time. Nope. Spearow just popped off. Like, that should have been a fight win there for alternate and forcing probably Shikigami to go back and maybe potentially make a swap, but Spearow finds 3. You should not have allowed that to happen, especially with Aurora not there.
Just not there, and now things are getting very dangerous. It's entering one fight territory. J-Man does get hit with the anti, so they're forced around for the time being, as Aurora just kind of needs to hang around, survive for the moment being, as J-Man about to have a Deadeye to see the aggression into that white room. You're thinking about going for it right now, as Shudo ends up getting hit with the anti. That is devastating. J-Man, super low, is eventually going to get taken out, but Dex, it might be a too little too late scenario.
I mean, you're going to probably potentially see some swaps coming out here from alternate just to get back. You do have Amity here, who does have a bomb, so they do have some stall potential here. But 2 minutes on the clock, you're going to have to find a lot of value with your ultimates. Pulse bomb coming out there from Lambert, not finding anyone, and Spearow, have yourself a round.
Oh boy, and Sparrow's going to finish it all off as Social and Amity trying to make a miracle, but Dex, no miracle is to be found for the side of alternate. The only miracle is Shikigami coming through with the last desperation touch not happening. Shikigami will upset alternate in 3-0 fashion. Oh my god.
Hunter, I mean, like we said, coming into the series tonight, me and you, I mean, we weren't even supposed to cover this series. Our series that we were originally supposed to cover tonight got changed. It was moved. We took this one because we really wanted to see these two teams played. And Shikigami, they put on a performance here. And this victory right here, much like the other two ones that kind of kickstarted their season back up, this one probably just kickstarted their hopes up into getting into playoffs here again, beating one of the top 3 teams. And coming in this week, alternate was sharing that #1 spot with Young and Beautiful. So, I mean, this is a huge victory for them. Congratulations to Shikigami and Hunter. I mean, I talked about it here. If you look at the stats for this final map, the first 2 maps, incredibly close. Hunter, this was our one-sided affair of the series. Shikigami, I think they found something on that attack round they had on King's Row, and they never really looked back from it. Alternate just wasn't able to respond. That's a weird thing to be saying. Aurora came in and played an incredible round as well on that dive tank. So Shikigami, they have 2 tanks that are scary no matter what the composition is.
Honestly, really is. Aurora coming in, like, just right off the bench and be able to play that diva like they have been playing it for the entire series so far, that is not an easy thing to pull off whatsoever. So that is entirely impressive to go in there and to make it happen, because all in all, that is the most dominant round right there for them, or I should say map in that scenario. It still blows my mind a little bit, because Shikigami is a good team. But to be able to pull off this win, I mean, you have to start taking them as a credible threat again. If you didn't think so a week ago, you have to think it again. They took down a team that was in the top 3, one of the teams that people would have probably considered had a good shot of getting into that, that relegation game situation where they could potentially get an OWCS, and now for alternate, it doesn't change the story too much of them still being able to make it through. I think they still should without too much issue, but for Shikigami, the possibility is now entirely there.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now. I mean, still, you're alternate. You're still sitting now in that, second area, but you're now grouped in with 4 other teams. You're now sitting 2 through 5. This victory for Shikigami bumps them up to just being outside of it. They're now 9th and 10th right now, and Shikigami, one more game to probably play at some point this week to get up to where In Control is right now, sitting above them. But if they win that one, they probably boost themselves up into that top 8 discussion. Shikigami, like I said, those 2 victories that they had coming into this week really kickstarted their season. Well, this victory here tonight definitely kickstarts their playoff run here now at a team that no one can really take lightly anymore.
I mean, you can't take them lightly at all. I'm showing off the man. It still catches me off guard. Oh, that's why the thing is bugged. It's showing like teams multiple times. That's not how it works. That's not how standings work, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it has been refreshed. It looks bueno, but yeah, it just as he said. And now that's beautiful for Shikigami. But you want to see something even crazier, Dex? And there's one other match that is still ongoing right now between Dreamland and Boop Troop. Boop Troop is up 2-1 right now.
Oh my goodness, that would be an insane outcome if Boop Troop is able to come out on top in that one, because Boop Troop, they're currently kind of struggling towards the bottom here. A victory tonight is just kind of the same thing that's happening with Shikigami here, one that could turn their season around. But Hunter, I think that's one thing that has been pretty consistent with this Masters tier here, is that there's no consistency. Young and Beautiful is a 3-loss team. They're currently sitting number 1 because they played 12 games. Dreamland has played 11. Dreamland's played 10, I believe it is here. So they have a couple games to catch up here. Dreamland could bump themselves up to 1 or fall back down. Every team here in this Masters tier has shown that no matter who they're playing, it could go any way here. But Shikigami, like we said, coming in the series here tonight, Hunter, this was really important for them. They want to carry that momentum from beating Amplify, from beating Boop Troop, and now they beat Alternate here. In a good spot in the standings now, still sitting outside the playoffs, but we looked at the rest of their schedule here. They do have some favorable games, and they do have some tough games. So still, you cannot take your foot off the gas here if you're Shikigami. Alternate, on the other hand, this has to be a wake-up call for them, in my opinion. They want to stay in that top 3. They want to stay in that top 4, give themselves a better chance of, or a better opponent going into playoffs. This has to be their wake-up call.
It 100% has to be their wake-up call right here, and they're going to have an ability at some point, but tomorrow they have a match right up against Dreamland, who, to be fair, is having a bit of a struggle themselves right now, so Dreamland might be the scenario where, hey, they might be looking for a big bounce back as well. I mean, Midori... hopefully not an upset alert, hoping to get a win and get themselves in a better position. In-Control Emote down mid, one that we are looking forward to covering tomorrow. But we'll obviously have to get there when we get there, Dex, because that is it for us here tonight. And we thought we probably would be done this soon, but not the way the scoreboard is currently representing.
Not the way. Incredible performance here from Shikigami. I mean, maps 1 and 2, really close. Could have gone either way. Shikigami figured out ways to come in on top. Map 3, though, it was all Shikigami the entire time.
Yeah, it really was. But either way, I mean, I'm happy we went to this game because, dang, that is a banger right there. But, like I said, that's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow as we'll be covering the In-Control versus Emote down mid-game. Same time, same place. But thank you all very much for joining us here. Make sure to go to keep supporting all the other FaceIt Extreme. Obviously, you got you and Bullskunk doing their thing, Spectron in the EU times as well. So, thank you all for joining us. We'll hope to see y'all tomorrow for some more FaceIt League action. We are clear.